This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh. We look now at growing protests in Russia against President Putin's war on Ukraine amidst a brutal crackdown by police. More than 5,000 people were arrested at demonstrations in at least 69 cities across Russia on Sunday alone. Since the war began, more than 13,000 Russians have been arrested for speaking out. Our next guest has joined the demonstrations since the day Russia began its attack in Ukraine, February 24th, which was also his wedding day. Arshak Makichan is an Armenian-Russian climate activist protesting before the war as well as part of the school strike for the climate movement. This week, he tweeted what he called a new flag of real Russia and supported reparations to Ukraine, writing, "We will be sorry forever for things done by our government," adding, "Real Russia is us." Arshak Makichan, welcome to Democracy Now! Are you worried about speaking out, given how many thousands of people, 13,000 people, have been arrested in Russia by a number of estimates since the war began for protesting?
Hi, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, of course I'm worried, but mostly I'm worried about Ukrainian people who are dying now because of our government. I was striking, I was protesting here in Russia for 3 years. I was prepared to be arrested because that's how activism works in Russia. If you're doing something and if you have influence, then they arresting you. And yeah, that's the price of activism in Russia. And yeah, I was ready to be arrested. I'm ready to be arrested because, yeah, it's our life in Russia. It's activist life in Russia. And the terrible thing that's happening in Russia, that they starting to torture people, even detained people from peaceful protest, even in Moscow. And the situation is getting worse and worse. Like 2 years ago, it was difficult to be an activist. A year ago, it was worse when they tried to poison Navalny and they declared his team extremist. And now it's like living in dictatorship. Like they can stop you on the street and like start searching you, and you cannot do anything against it. Like you don't have anything to defend yourself. And like it's terrible to live in Russia now because it's terrible to see how insane can the regime go, because they having this Z letter written on everything. It's like a new Nazist symbol, and it's terrible to see like your country. I love Russia, like I love Russian culture, and I love like music, literature, but what is happening now with our country is terrible. We see how like our economy are collapsing. We see how like the government going insane, and we don't know what to do because like Putin has its like nuclear power. He has millions of police, and they are brainwashed. It's impossible to talk with them because like they saying like, yeah, you're not allowed to talk about the war. You're not allowed to do this and that, and like it's impossible to talk with them because they were brainwashed for 8 years. And like I don't see like a solution but like activism and protests now in Russia.
And Arsha, can you talk about how you access information about what's going on in Ukraine? Because there has been a massive crackdown on independent media, as well as social media, Facebook and Twitter. How are you getting information about the war in Ukraine?
We're using VPN, and I can read in English, and like it's not so difficult for me, but it's difficult for all the generation because this crackdown on independent media in Russia started like long before this war. They started to declare almost all our independent media foreign agents like a year or 2 years ago. So this situation now is even worse than before, but yeah, you can get information if you want to, but it's difficult to share this information with other people because it's getting dangerous, because like a lot of independent media shutting down because it's now like illegal to call this war a war, or it's illegal to like there is something like war censorship in Russia now.
So what do most Russians understand about what's happening? I mean, we're hearing so many reports, given that you can't use the words war and invasion, independent media shut down. What do you think is the general response?
There is no general response in Russia because Russia is a big country. And if we are talking about Moscow, I think people in here do understand what is happening and they preparing themselves for the wars. But Russia is huge and there are a lot of regions and people in there don't get the information or they don't understand what is happening. So it's so complicated, and yeah, Russia is so complicated that so we need to do our activist work better in here because like I'm not sure if like these sanctions like shutting down Apple Pay or things like that can like influence people in like regions in Russia.
Are people feeling the effects of the sanctions, the mass shutdown, the largest, I think, corporate sanctioning, let alone government sanctioning, of corporations pulling out, not operating right now?
Yeah, of course. You can feel it if you live in Moscow or St. Petersburg or in some other cities. And yeah, it's not like it's influencing our lives and we feel some kind of like isolated from the world because now you cannot buy even currency in Russia and go to Europe. Like it's getting so complicated, and we like maybe sanctions are good for like influencing like general society in Russia for them to understand that like it's our responsibility that our government doing, and it's terrible what's our government doing. But on the other way, like sometimes it's like affecting like our access to like to the internet. Like now we cannot like pay for VPN maybe because our like financial system isn't connected anymore to the world financial system. So like if you want to have to access to the internet, to independent media, you need to pay for VPN. And now like with these sanctions, maybe you won't be able. So we need to find some new solutions because I think it's very important for Russian civil society, for Russian anti-war movement to be connected to the world, to have this opportunity to raise our voices. And like when the advanced side Russian government trying to shut down all our social media, now like I cannot share anything on my TikTok. It's like I was using this platform to share like anti-war statements, and now I cannot do that because TikTok like shut down in Russia. And yeah, at the other side, like international platforms doing restrictions for Russian people, and sometimes it's influencing like Russian civil society that's fighting this terrible regime in Russia, and it's quite difficult and dangerous to fight this regime, and we were doing it for years, and maybe we need some help, I think.
And Asha, can you also respond to those who say that there's a risk that Putin might declare martial law? Are you concerned about that?
Of course, we were concerned about that, but if he wants to declare martial law, he should like to accept that there is a war in Ukraine, and there is a war between Ukraine and Russia, and now they calling it like special operation, and that they do not want to tell the truth to the people because people, I think, they do not want a war. So they brainwashing people and saying that it's not a war, it's special operation. And yeah, if they declare martial law, then maybe there will be bigger protests, I think. So that's easy for the government as well.
Asha, can you describe your wedding day, what it was like, what you did?
We were planning this wedding for a month because it was dangerous to be an activist even before the war as well. And we were planning it as a safety measure because if you are married, you have this extra rights, like to meet your wife or husband when you are in prison. And we were preparing ourselves for the prison because if you're an activist, you should be prepared. And yeah, on the February 24th, we I was sleeping and like my girlfriend, she woke me up and said that there is a war, and we were shocked. And it was terrible, like that Putin is stealing from us, even like our wedding. He was stealing everything from us, like our future, our human rights, one by one. And now he had stolen our wedding. And we canceled all our celebrations and stuff like that. And I've written on my shirt, like, and so it happens that like our wedding was more like activism and more activism than an actual wedding, because it was like a safety tool and a statement against this war, because like we are the future of this country and we want to have normal life. We do not want to be arrested for 15 years just for speaking up against this war. We want normal life. We want like to be with Europe, to like educate ourselves, to be normal people. We do not want to be heroes. Like we want to be normal.
Finally, Arshak, you are a peace and climate activist, and a lot of the sanctions against Putin right now are around oil, gas, a unilateral ban that Biden, for example, has put on Russian oil, gas, coal. The significance and the connection between war and the climate emergency.
Yeah, of course, there is connection between climate crisis and the war, but now I cannot talk about climate in Russia anymore because people are dying in Ukraine and there is terrible situation in Russia as well. And if we want to talk about sustainability, if we want to talk about future, we need to like have secure present, and there is no like people do not have present in Ukraine because Russia is bombing their homes, Russia is bombing their hospitals, and we don't have present in Russia as well, because if you want to be normal person, if you want to be normal person, of course you should be against this war. You can be arrested. So yeah, we don't have a future anymore in Russia as well. So I stopped my fight for future, and now we're fighting for our present.
Arshak, many Russians are trying to leave the country. Explain how difficult that is, and given the sanctions and other restrictions on Russia. And also, do you plan to leave?
A lot of my friends live in the country now, and it's very complicated because you can fly just to Armenia or Georgia and maybe to Turkey, and yeah, the tickets are very expensive, and with the current economical situation, when people don't have money, it's difficult, especially for activists. Yeah, it's very complicated, and I think we need some ways for activists at danger to have this opportunity to leave the country, because a lot of people do not want to be arrested for 15 years, and they were fighting this terrible regime for years and years, and they deserve some respect and some help from the world, because the world just starting to realize how dangerous, stupid and horrible is our regime. And we were living with Putin for 20 years, and we were fighting him for years. And yeah, we need to figure out some ways for activists, for people in danger in here, because it's sometimes it's unbearable to continue your activism because your family is in danger, your life is in danger. They're watching you every day, every hour. So of course we need some help in things like that.
Arshak Maki-chan, yes, we just have 10 seconds. Yourself, are you thinking of leaving?
No, I think I want to stay in Russia. Maybe I will have some rest from Russia sometimes, but I want to stay in Russia because it's my country.
Arshak Maki-chan, I want to thank you for being with us, climate and peace activist based in Moscow, Russia. Coming up, David Miliband, President and CEO of the International Rescue Committee, former Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom. Stay with us.